We are live, as you can tell, and I'm Tamika Stembridge here with our fraternal organizations. We're going to dive right in for the sake of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you all for participating. We're over 200 people strong in this session, and so I'm very excited to dive right in. Pastor Quick, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about your organization, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and the community outreach programs that you all are providing right now.
Of course, we were founded in 1906. I'm here representing Kappa Omicron Lambda here in Vallejo, California, a graduate chapter. Peerless Jefferson is my brother president. We have been working fearlessly to make an intricate connection between the notion of white supremacy and economic disadvantage, and how we can solve those issues through our various scholarship efforts, through our various mentorship programs. But most recently, we led the largest march here in Solano County, along with my church, Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, around the various killings, not only across the nation, but we've had 19 here in our city over the last several years. We believe those killings are connected to what Dr. Soros would call debt as the brand new slavery. The poorer you are, the lower educated you are, the more likely you are to with the police. So we're going on a broad economic education, police reform education to transform our system and make it more equitable for everyone.
Thank you, Pastor Quick. This is incredible work that you're doing. This is really, really exciting to hear. How about you? Carl Gibbs is the polemarch of the Trenton Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Tell us a little bit about your community outreach programs.
Sure. Thank you, Tamika. It really starts with the core contribution or commitment from the 59 members of the Trenton Alumni Chapter to dedicate 3,000 hours per individual to community service. In essence, the core of those hours are really spent with the young kids through our training program, our Kappa Night program, which ranges from 6th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And instilled in that program are the programs that we do with the HBCU tours, our college signing day. We have a Kappa robotics program where we build little toys, and we have a race for those cars, and the city comes out and supports that event. We also have Stop the Violence and financial aid workshops that we give, and it's really built on the core, working around the youth and bringing them up to speed.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. We're also joined by Mr. Michael Smith, who is the Basileus of the Omicron Pride Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Michael, tell us a little bit about your community outreach programs.
Excellent. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. Again, my name is Michael Smith. I come to you from the Omicron Chi chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Omega has upwards of 750 chapters in 14 countries. We all work under a mantra that's established by our international and district offices that really speak to the efforts in terms of community outreach. Specifically in regards to the efforts we're talking about today, I'd say that our efforts are probably best exemplified by our chairman, Jeff Blanchard, who has led us in regards to our networking within businesses locally. Specifically, we've held business card exchanges to promote local entrepreneurs. We've hosted panel discussions with individuals such as the Chief Diversity Officer of the state of New Jersey, really helping business owners understand better the procurement process, but also how to promote their businesses in an effective way. And I think for our younger folks, we have a Omega Leadership Institute, which has really targeted young people from the middle school and high school, but even more recently through our partners at Union County College, where we've impacted favorably their Black Male Achievers program. The efforts there have ranged on a number of topics, whether they be helping establish SMART objectives, establish business plans, helping to develop pitches, and the importance of networking. So all of those strategies, I think, have been working in the right direction. The reason we're here today is really to establish further partnerships with each of these Divine Nine institutions. Tamika?
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Last but not least, right now, I'd like to have Mr. Ben Alston, who is the Eastern Regional Director of the Bigger and Better Business Program for Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Ben, tell us a little bit about your community outreach programs.
How you doing? Good afternoon. Again, I'm Ben Alston. I represent Phi Beta Sigma. We were founded in 1914. The principles of brotherhood, scholarship, and service. Our community service has kind of had to change due to the pandemic. We had to adapt, and we realized that we needed to engage our communities in different ways. With that being said, we focus on some of the things that we focus on based on this conversation is financial literacy and economic empowerment. We have webinars, and some of the webinars include home ownership, credit, debit workshops, and budgeting, investing, asset management, and protection. We also do a small monthly business spotlight where we promote, patronize, and spotlight minority-owned businesses. And we also make sure that we keep our local communities aware of the different grant opportunities and deadlines that are approaching.
Excellent. So I've heard everything from young adults to manhood to business and entrepreneurship. And Ben, thank you for noting the pivot with COVID, because my next question really is around how you guys have had to mobilize to address what's happening right now between COVID-19, the increase in racial injustice and social injustice, and last but not least, of course, financial empowerment, because we're here with dfree. Pastor Quick, has COVID-19 or what's happening right now affected how you all have done your programming?
Absolutely. Of course, we've had to go a lot more digital and using platforms outside of person-to-person interaction. But in the midst of our particular local crisis, which has to do with police reform issues, violence, and injustice, we gathered almost 5,000 people for a march, but we declared it a COVID-conscious march. And therefore, we ensured that everyone who participated was masked and gloves. We had masks on site. Therefore, we made sure that everyone was protected. We did census registration and voter registration on site because we want to ensure that the political empowerment of the people is enabled by actually putting them into the system. And we talked about the buyer inequalities around COVID interaction between Black communities and other communities. Our immediate concern is educating Black communities that this illness is real, it's impacting us, and we're consistently giving young people the message. You may be asymptomatic, but you do not want to harm your parents and your grandparents. Post that, we monitored our county statistics to ensure that our actions had not increased the spiking in our county. We want to be responsible as we try to advocate for our people.
Excellent, excellent. Carl, how has COVID and the other issues of today affected your programming?
Well, for us, I mean, we definitely had to completely go digital. But our gist of what we tried to do, we partnered with the Trenton Kappa Foundation. And through our foundation, we are able to partner up with hospitals and institutions that are in our area to try to provide the need or the lack of services and healthcare benefits that people needed. So we partnered with the Trenton Housing Authority, Henry J. Austin Healthcare Center, Young Scholars Institute, Trenton Kappa League, or the gentleman that we mentored to provide them with gift cards to buy food and supplies. We also purchased surgical masks to cover everyone to provide those services and sources of supplies that they didn't have access to. The other thing we did is we went to two of our local hospitals, and that was the St. Francis Medical Hospital and the Capitol Health Center to kind of address the first responders and providing them with meals while they were working. So we tried to have a broad approach and try to cover some things that we thought were the need fit where we could be of service.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And Michael, how about you and Omega Psi Phi? How has COVID affected your work?
Absolutely, thank you. So in regards to our immediate efforts, we've absolutely had to pivot since early March, with New Jersey, where we're located, being I don't want to say ground zero, but certainly early in the evolution in regards to the pandemic. Omega had a multi-state effort. In this case, our 5-state second district really had weekly calls that not only spoke to what's going on in terms of the cutting edge with respect to statistics, how brothers are being responsive, how we're being supportive of families locally, as well as across the district. But I'd argue that in regards to the little background noise here. In regards to our immediate efforts, we've actually collaborated with local, the Union County Board of Freeholders, and really addressing the food insecurity issue. So we're out weekly distributing food to those in need. We've worked in terms of PPE distribution, hand sanitizer, and things of those natures. We've been able to get those out so folks in need at nursing homes, as well as local churches, i.e. the Community Baptist Churches of Somerset. And also we've collaborated with St. John's Baptist Church here in Plainfield. I think in regards to the issue in regards to law enforcement, we've thought that establishing dialogue has been critical. So not only have we been collaborative in addressing PPE with respect to frontline workers, in this case, Plainfield Police Department Rescue Squad, but we also, based on demand from our local partners here at Jack and Jill organization, had webinars that really facilitated dialogue between our young people, parents, educators, as well as attorneys and law enforcement, and to establish a more empathetic and arguably collaborative dialogue on how to manage interface between our young people and law enforcement. So I think we've made some progress, both on the issue of COVID, but also the issue with racial injustice. And hopefully we continue to collaborate with you guys to continue that effort into the future.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And Ben, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening with Phi Beta Sigma with respect to all that's going on?
Sure. I mean, as I said before, we moved to more virtual platform. One of the first things that we had to do, we had to lead by example. And the first thing by leading by example, once the COVID-19 started, we decided to suspend all fraternity activities in order to get a better understanding in terms of what this new realm and what this new process would look like for us as an organization, because that's just getting out to the community to support that. Our second step was to engage our communities. And again, leading by example, engaging our community by wearing masks, increasing the social distancing, and making sure that we promote the social distancing protocols. Across the country, we focused on providing food banks, helping the elderly, delivering lunches to essential workers, as well as voter registration and distribution of PPE equipment across the eastern region. And lastly, Phi Beta Sigma was in the forefront of protesting justice and police reform by engaging members of Congress, as well as protesting. We also had a national town hall meeting with hundreds of participants, not only brothers, but local community leaders and participants. Included in that, we had the president of the NAACP, law enforcement officials, and elected officials. Our goal was to educate and empower everyone to effectively sustain changes in policies and policing and policies and practices in the Black community. So we're going to continue to focus on that and continue to bring these things to the forefront as we move forward.
Excellent, excellent. And I'd like to welcome to our panel Pastor Roger Harris, who is the chaplain of the Alpha Xi Omega chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Welcome, Pastor Harris. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that Iota is doing around the COVID-19 and how that might have affected your programming going forward? Okay, we're live, so we're going to keep rolling. Thank you, gentlemen, for your leadership in the community and your respective answers. One of the things I'll say, that dfree as a national and international organization, we're constantly reaching out into the community through our partners. Can you tell us a little bit about how we could possibly assist you in your efforts around economic empowerment?
I think I have a double life in dfree. Friendship Missionary Baptist Church has been the dfree Church of the Year, and I'm proud to say we're the power of bringing dfree to California, to the West Coast, I believe. I'm clear and consistent on the fact that we'll never have racial equality without economic equality. And that is the one thing that attracted me to the message of Dr. Torres. And far too often, we're missing the linkage to intersectionality between criminal justice reform and economics. I think dfree can help us continue to educate a community that has been undereducated and under-resourced, and really help us understand how those resources trickle around us in terms of how public schools are funded, wraparound services for those things, and to empower citizens not to be victims, but victors in the process. So as we partner with churches and the other Divine Nine organizations here in our county, in our region, the San Francisco Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, we need dfree, especially since Black people are inherently faith-based people. So there is no real disconnection between our spiritual apparatus and our social living. Lastly, I'll close with one of our great brothers, W.E.B. Du Bois, a Phi Alpha, in helping everyone understand the need to end our internal segregation. We have to reach out to the least of these in our own communities. And because we've been fortunate enough to get an education and be a part of high-end institutions, it's our responsibility, and we believe that inherently in Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, to reach back and make sure no one is left behind.
Excellent, excellent. And you know we're here. I love coming to visit California, so whenever you need us, we're ready to join. Carl, can you tell us a little bit about how dfree could possibly help the organization?
Sure. It really starts with plugging into the work that we do at the Trenton Kappa Foundation. The Trenton Kappa Foundation has been a cornerstone of all our efforts in working in the community. So I would encourage everybody to plug in to kappafoundation.org. There you would get a feel for the direct programs that we were talking about earlier, the scholarships and the amount of money that we're able to contribute to the community, and all the other events that happen through the fraternity of Trenton Kappa Alumni Chapter. So my point would be to really bridge and connect and get into the flow of information through the Trenton Kappa Foundation. And by the way, the person that runs that is Walter Smith. He's the executive director of the foundation. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Michael, tell us about how we could potentially partner with Omega Psi Phi.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think the two obvious points, I think, from our perspective is our Omega Leadership Institute does embrace the concepts of financial literacy, particularly with our mentoring efforts. So I think some of the structure in which dfree uses is absolutely something that we can implement in terms of our process of introducing both to young people and arguably beyond. But then I'd say more broadly, our area leader, in this case, Corridor Representative Leon Smith, has a vision that more broadly introducing the concepts of dfree to chapters throughout the state of New Jersey. So we look forward to looking on both fronts, be an advocate there. And Brother Smith is actually a member of Pastor Shoei's home church. So on a number of levels, we look forward to making sure that we are absolutely a blessing in regards to this effort into the future. Tamika?
dfree? Okay, I'll step up because I think I'm the next person. I think one of the things that we feel that we can do better with dfree is partner with our local chapters. I think we're looking forward to futurely getting some partnering done across the country with our organizations. We want to also make sure that we stress to our communities as well as dfree, as well as every participant on the phone line, about completing the U.S. Census. Again, that time frame of the deadline has been extended to the end of October. And it's crucially important that we get our communities out to complete that census. It affects planning and funding for infrastructure, education, training, and healthcare. And without that information, our communities are lacking in those areas. So it's increasingly important that we do that. And the last thing that I think and I feel that we need to do is we need to focus more so on generational wealth. Generational wealth has basically 6 components the way we see it. In the sense of budget, we want to make sure that we develop sound financial planning. So we want to make sure we focus on generational wealth as it pertains to that. We want to focus on credit and debit management, using your credit wisely. We want to focus on the importance of ownership versus renting. We want to talk about educational tools, so you can get some understanding in terms of what stocks, bonds, CDs, IRAs, and 401ks are. We want to talk about the importance of insurance for you and your family. And lastly, we want to talk about estate planning. All of these things combined help with generational wealth, and we need to get this information more so out to our communities. So your organization could definitely help us if we partner to get that done, as well as working with our youth organizations similar to our youth auxiliary out Sigma Beta. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Pastor Harris, are you able to answer?
I think I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity. Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated started in the midst of struggle as we are going through now. And one of the big things is standing on our foundation and all the things that we do. And so some of the things as we begin to talk about from crisis, shifting from crisis to our culture, is that we have leaned on the fact that we bring many gifts to the table. And so we as a fraternity started in 1963 through turmoil. Right now, from a national and local level, we have begun to use the gifts within our organization. First being that we stress community. And so right now, we find a lot of our local chapters being involved in local food giveaways. We want to be involved in educating folks in terms of finances. Our local chapter have been involved with City National, which is now Industrial Bank, Black-owned bank. So again, all the things our brothers had said so far. We want to build upon it. We want to build community, and so I'm more vocational in my work. So I'm in the pulpit, and I'm also in the community in social justice. I work in youth detention, so I see the both ends of the spectrum of so many needs. And so when there's a crisis, one thing as a council, we know that everybody's crisis is different in terms of what their needs are. I think one of the big things is having an ear for our people and for our community and to each other. Because if we don't listen to each other, then we'll just give them stuff that we think they need. And I believe that this forum here, especially in terms of debt-free, that we have a lot of not just financial debt, but emotional debt, debt from poor from institutions that we're struggling with. And so we're just grateful for the opportunity to be in arms with our family, our brothers and sisters in the fraternal order and in the community, so that we can be a tangible touch in terms of what people need, because they need something in crisis. A lot of my folk are now still waiting for resources in terms of government and their payment in terms of their Social Security and unemployment, which people are still waiting for. And so I think this is an opportunity for us to position ourselves and our people and our community, so that we're not just dependent on outside resources, but that we were strengthened within the source of our fraternal and sorority orders in our community. So as Howard Thurman talks about in Jesus and Disinherited, that it's more than just preaching. We want to put a tangible, we want to have a real touch, so that we realize that we're not alone, and the work is just beginning, maybe for some folks, but there are things that we can do, and this is just one avenue, just communication-wise, of all the resources that are on the table, even right now, in terms of the people represented in this forum.
Thank you so much, Pastor Harris. So what I'll also say, now that we understand a little bit more about what you do, can you leave our audience with a message? What message would you leave them with about moving from crisis to clarity in their own lives? Pastor Quick, we'll start with you.
Well, I think your title is very apropos. African Americans have been in crisis since 1619. The whole birth of the notion of Black people in America has been a crisis-oriented notion. And yet, we have had a way of taking our crisis and bringing clarity to America. If it were not for people of color, Black people, America would not be what it is. We specialize in clarity. And today, I think we have a unique opportunity to redefine the American culture. And I believe it is our great opportunity and birthright to reshape the landscape of our nation. And we have to do that first by bringing clarity to our own people. In Alpha, we have this notion of a voteless people to hopeless people. Well, we're struggling against generations, and I appreciated my brother talking about generational wealth. Here in California, we're focusing on helping people get out of a consciousness that's been developed by generations of lack of education, generations of lack of exposure, generations of lack of healthcare. We have to begin to give them a larger vision so that we can point them in a different direction. And so what I've said and what we're talking about now is from DNA to that fateful night where a young Black or brown man meets a police officer in a murderous moment. Everything that has been done by our nation, our educational system, and our economic system has been to create that young man and that young woman for that night of destiny. And so here in California, in my county, Black people are less likely to bring a baby to full term in a healthy way than any other group in our county. So we've got to start with trauma-informed care that starts in the womb and then leads to generational wealth. So the vision I hope to leave our people with is, let's go back to the grandeur and the greatness that got us out of slave fields, that got us through segregation, and reorient ourselves to offering a new clarity for our people. That, I think, leads us to a new understanding.
Thank you, Pastor Quick, always with the word. Carl, can you share with us your message for our audience?
Sure. For me, it's very simple. It's all about November, and that we just have to show up. I think we're in a situation in a time now, especially in the state of New Jersey, where historically we haven't had access to a seat at the table. I think it's time, and it's well overdue, that we have these conversations with our governors and state legislators on the things that we think are important that address our needs, whether it's education, healthcare, or other issues. But I think we're just in a time now that we have to have those conversations. And it appears that, through all the marketing and so forth, that there's a receptiveness to having those conversations. So I'm very encouraged going forward, and more encouraged today than I've been in the past.
Well, we thank you for being a part of the conversation. Michael, can you share your message for our audience?
Absolutely. Thank you. So in the context of we're in a well-publicized recession, I think it's no shortage of data that suggests that this and other factors have disproportionately impacted people of color in this country and beyond. I'd suggest that it's in times like these, it's incumbent upon each of us, particularly the Divine Nine, to work together to develop strategies and implement visions, much like those that have been expressed this evening, to create lasting change for our community. I suggest that whether it be at the international level, where I understand that they're doing some great things, we're looking forward to implement those here locally. So I thank you for what you're doing here in terms of this format, and looking forward to working with each and every one of you into the future. Thank you for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Ben, can you speak on behalf of your organization? What's your message for our audience?
The message I would love to leave you with is be the agent of change that you want to see. And what I mean by that is, when we have an election coming up, everyone should get out and vote. We have a census coming up. We need everyone to complete that. If you completed it, you need to make sure that other people have completed it as well, because it impacts so many different people. We need to focus in on our youth and our ability to teach them to get involved and stay engaged. And I'll leave you with this. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be feared. Now is the time to understand more, so let that fear may be less. So focus on that in these COVID times.
Thank you, Ben. We appreciate you joining. Pastor Harris, what's your final message for our audience?
We want to just leave this thought that that you matter. Everyone, especially in our community, everyone matters. Questions come up every day in terms of people that I meet and minister to that have to give hope to the kids that are in detention that I counsel, and to the families that are for asking questions. Where do we go from here? Think of Dr. Martin Luther King. Where do we go from here? From chaos to community. There's still light. There's still hope. And all that was said, that if I have hope, then I'm gonna wait online to cast my vote. That if I matter, that when I get up, that no matter what other people say about me, that I see myself in brothers and sisters before me, that I matter, that I'm not alone. This pandemic has isolated us from friends and family, not just physically but spiritually. And so what we find now is that we just want to leave some possibilities and some hope, so that when I see my young people, when I see my community, that they won't hold their heads down but look up. In the eye of a storm, in the eye of a hurricane, there's peace. And so we're in the midst of a hurricane. And I would just want to encourage each and one of us that despite what's going on around us, that I look up, that I see each one of you as family, and that I have encouragement, because we've been blessed with opportunity, but that can keep us from falling. And so we just want to just celebrate today in this moment that the possibilities that are before us.
Well, there you have it, folks. We have had tremendous insight shared from leaders of our Divine Nine fraternal organizations. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this panel. Thank you all for bearing with us. We are live virtually for the first time ever with our dfree conference, and it's an honor to host you. We look forward to partnering with you. We encourage our audience to continue to respond, continue to work in the chat, and we'll actually be bringing our sorority members on in just a few minutes. But gentlemen, I really want to say thank you. Kudos to you. My prayers for your continued strength as you continue to do work out in the community. Thank you all so much for joining us. This has been Leading with Letters from our fraternity organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.